Hey guys, Firebat here, bringing you a slideshow of how to build/play against Demon Hunter. And if you don't know, Demon Hunter is the new class added in Ashes of Outland that has been terrorizing the ladder. Very powerful deck. One thing I want to highlight is it uses the Outcast mechanic, which playing your most recently top-decked card or the card on the farthest other side of your hand gets a bonus Outcast effect, which then causes extra stuff to happen. And it is very powerful, but it also may be Demon Hunter's weakness. The strat. Because of Outcast, Demon Hunter can't wait forever for their cards to be good, because it will delay/prevent other key Outcast cards, namely the Skull of Gul'dan, which is their card draw engine. If you can force them to have a hard time playing that card, then it's going to be a lot easier to defeat the Demon Hunter. And that all starts in the very beginning of the game, making their things awkward for them, trying to get cards stuck in their hand, and make them have to play cards at times where they otherwise wouldn't want to play cards, all in the effort of trying to get that skull to the outside of their hand. So before we can really break down how to beat Demon Hunter, we have to understand what Demon Hunter is by looking at all of the decks and how much they play the decks. These are the decks, these are how much they play them. Inside those decks, there's our cards. These are the cards, these are how much they play them. Inside those cards, there are these cards, which are the most popular of those cards. Turn 0, they're looking for these cards. And that's really where things start out. So they want to try and find the 1-drops, the 2-drops, and that's about it. Sometimes they'll be keeping a skull if they have it in the pocket corner. That's unfortunate for you. I'm sorry. Good luck. Maybe try against the next Demon Hunter. But let's focus on things we can beat. Turn 1, actually not that scary. A 1-mana 2/1, not that spooky. A 1-mana 2/2, not that spooky. Things are good. If you develop a 1-drop and they I-beams it, you're pretty happy. That's a 1-for-1 trade. 1-for-1 trades are good enough. We want to play a 1-drop that can contest the Battle Fiend and not die to their hero power. And that's about it. It's pretty easy going. So there's a few of those, not a lot of those. The problem is there's not a lot of 1-drops with 2 attack that also have more than 1 health. There's a few, but not a lot. And some of them use stealth to avoid the Demon Hunter's hero power. Pretty creative way. Maybe there's some sort of stealth rogue build out there that we haven't found that might do pretty well against Demon Hunter, seeing as how the early turns can line up pretty well for the Stealth Rogue, and it's a tempo-based deck. Oh, the other option, besides developing into something, is killing it. So every class in the game except Paladin has a way to deal with the Battle Fiend. So including some of these answers could help your deck keep up against Demon Hunter. Some of the ones that are new cards, Unstable Fellbolt, I think is a pretty interesting, cool new card. It maybe sees some play in some Galakron Warlock. Sword and Board is a card I haven't seen being played on ladder yet that I think could be pretty good to help keep up against Demon Hunter. It just seems like such a powerful, flexible card. And then there's the third option, which is ignoring it altogether. Sometimes ignoring things can be the right answer. The Battle Fiend and the Runner are not that scary. They're not really must-kill. The Battle Fiend is closer to a must-kill, but as long as you clean it up at like turn 2 or 3 with some sort of AoE or something, you're probably fine. So now turn 1 is a great time to develop something that can help you win back the board later, whether that be the Druid Quest, an imprisoned minion, or invoking your Galakron. Maybe not good enough. I'll put it up there just because it is an option of something else to develop. Or buffing your hand, which traditionally has never been good, or at least never been the best thing to be doing with your mana, but that is an option as a way to semi-contest the board while also going for some other resources. And maybe isn't too bad. Next up after turn 1 is turn 2. What can Demon Hunter do on turn 2? Their options open up a little bit more. They can develop a 3/2 minion. They can develop 2 1/1s while playing a weapon. They can deal 2 damage to something while drawing a card. So we need to stop a 3/2 because that's what their development is. Or we need to develop a minion with 3 or more health, preferably 4, so we can value trade their minion, but if not the end of the world. We just don't want to play a 2 health minion that dies to Chaos Strike, thus leading us 1 card behind, because Chaos Strike recycles itself. And we don't want to play a 1 health minion that would allow them to play Umberwing for free. This is the part of the game where you're going to see a lot of twin slices and I-beams and stuff happening. And it's really tough to, you know, beat a twin slice play. Similar to when I was talking about Rogue, it can be very tough in the early game to beat different backstab plays in the Rogue. But you're going to want to try your best to make it happen, which is why 3 health becomes even more important, because it makes them have to use both halves of the twin slice to combo with Umberwing to kill your minion, things like that. So different ways that we can kill a 3-2. Every class can kill a 3-2 in a lot of different ways, except for Paladin. Well, Paladin's got the weapon, but the weapon requires secret. It's the class doesn't have a lot of good removal. But there's tons of great options out there. Stormforged Axe might see a surge in popularity, honestly, if Shaman sees any play. Seeing as there's so many 2 health minions the Demon Hunter is playing in the early game. And Cleave is interestingly powerful, especially for the 3-drop against Demon Hunter, where we'll see that card again. But it seems like it's finding a lot of good targets in the metagame. It's just, we very rarely had a 2 health early game breakpoint metagame. It's always been 3 health, and this might be the first 2 health breakpoint early game metagame. So it's interesting. Or instead of removing the 3-2, we can develop into the 3-2 / their removal, and we can look for options like these. So we want a minion with 3 or more health. If it is exactly 3 health, you want some sort of upside that you're getting, so that when you're trading with their 2-drop, you're also gaining some little bit of advantage. Like the Aldor Attendant is making your Librams cost 1 less this game. So that's some side benefit while you're going just dead even on board. And the Questing Explorer gets you a card while going dead even on board. Those are good enough. The Artificer is a 2/4, so that's its little side benefit there. It's still alive and can value trade your opponent's minions. Interestingly, the Dragon Maw Sentinel, one of the new cards, if you're holding a Dragon game +1 attack and lifesteal, looks pretty sweet. There might be some sort of Dragon Priest early game that could keep up with Demon Hunter that we've been sleeping on. And the Secret Guy from a Rogue, just absolutely absurd. A 1/5 stat line for 2 mana. I don't know how that card doesn't see more play yet. That card seems like it lines up really, really well. Okay, and then we have Demon Hunter's turn 3, which they can either play the Warblades, the Overseer, Altruist, the Outcast, or some combination of one of the 2-cost cards plus their hero power. And the main focus of this turn is the Overseer. A lot of the times, your Demon Hunter opponent is going to be saving at twin slices so that they can activate the Overseer right on turn 3, creating a 4-2 and a 2-2, which can be pretty difficult to deal with if you're not prepared for it. Also, they can use the Altruist plus twin slices on this turn to be able to deal a lot of damage to the board and maybe a little bit more to a singular target. I would say for the most part, it's probably too difficult to play around Altruist double twin slices. If you can do it, fantastic. Develop that 5 health minion, but a lot of times a 4 health minion is going to be good enough and take away enough resources from you. It needs to be at least 4 health, the minion you're developing, because you don't want to get Chaos Strike plus hero powered, because that allows them to just smoothly go through their deck and get up a card on you right there. So you want to be able to stop a 4-2 and a 2-2, or develop a minion with 4 or more health. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. So for stopping a 4-2 and a 2-2, some of the ways that you can do that, the best ways are Dark Skies and Breath of the Infinite. You see that in a lot of constructed decks right now. But there are also a lot of different other ways to be able to do it. Lightning Breath, if you're doing some sort of Dragon Shaman thing. Killing the 4-2 is the most important part. If you're able to kill the 4-2 while developing, that is most likely good enough. So a random 3-drop should contest a 2-2. So Serpentshire, Portal, SI7 Agent, and Scale Rider are also all great ways to answer this card on curve, no problem. Soul Cleave, Immolation Aura, Cleave, Shadow Madness, Flame Ward. The key is to just not be Paladin. Paladin doesn't really have a way to answer Altruist and is going to struggle. Following that, the ways you can develop a 4 health minion to be able to contest this turn from Demon Hunter pretty stably. Tons of options here. Every class pretty much has a way that they can develop against this board in a pretty meaningful manner. Okay, next is turn 4, which I've labeled a scary turn, because this is where Demon Hunter can do some pretty nasty stuff. So they get to develop while removing your minion in a lot of ways. They can take value trades with Kane, which can be a little annoying. They can be ahead on board and play Kane, and then he's very difficult to remove. They can play the Fellblade with Outcast effect on and destroy your minion while leaving behind a 5-3. They can Maeve, which, depending on if they're in a good enough position to close the game, could be a tempo swing big enough to win, which can be a little spooky. And they can coin Glavebound Adept. I haven't really been focusing on a lot of coin plays because there's just so many different rabbit holes the deck goes down. But this is one of the more common coin plays you're going to see people try and use. Like Overseer coin Hero Power happens a lot. And I think coin Glavebound Adept also happens a ton. It's just they have so many different ways to power spike on this turn, whether this be the Outcast Fellblade or the having a weapon and coining the Glavebound Adept. So there's some things we need to be able to do here. Either stop Kane, or we need to develop a minion that lives through the Aldari Fellblade, which could be a 6 health minion, could be a 7 health minion, depending on if they've had a weapon the previous turn and which weapon it is. So kind of try and use your judgment on that. Or you can develop a non-board asset, so something that develops in a different way rather than putting a minion on the field. So stopping Kane is pretty hard. If they're ahead on board and they play Kane, that's a bummer. You're not really going to have too many answers to it. There are some rush minions that can kind of do it. You can polymorph it, hex it, fireball it, that kind of stuff. But none of that really trades super effectively with it. And that's why Kane's a good card. You won't see it too often while they're ahead on curve. But yeah, tough. Other things, though, developing a 6 health minion is not too bad. Developing a 7 health minion is a little bit trickier. If they don't have a weapon up and you play a 6 health minion, you're going to be sitting very pretty. You're going to make that Eldari Fellblade kind of stuck in their hand. It's going to delay them from triggering their other outcasts, and it's going to be a really tough game for the Demon Hunter. So some weird cards that aren't really seeing too much play would be like Hippogriff up there. But some cards that are seeing just tons of play, and one of the big reasons why Priest is having so much success is Priest runs High Priest of Met, Psychopomp, and Bone Wraith, and these are all cards that have the ability to make the turn 4 from the Demon Hunter not great. They really reduce their options, maybe get some of the cards stuck in their hand. And then depending on your hand size, Twilight Drake could be made big enough. Bait Weaver could be pretty cool. It's a 3/6 with some upside. And Water Elemental also has a lot of upside and practicality versus the Demon Hunter. And then the third option, developing in a different way. Since this is their scary power turn, right? Sometimes the best approach is to just kind of ignore it. They don't really want to play their Fellblade on an empty board. Sure, it's a 5/3, but it loses its ability to gain immune this turn. So you make them have to use their cards super inefficiently. If my opponent is playing a 5/3 with Rush against my empty board, I'm pretty happy. Or into my 2/2, for example. Sure, it has immune this turn, but it's trading with a 2/2 anyways. Or a Stealth Minion, which just completely ignores Rush and the gain immune this turn effect of that card. And the Glavebound Adept would have to go at your face instead, so then you can clean it up with removal. So this is where the strat really comes in, is knowing when to develop these non-board assets, knowing when to overgrowth, knowing when to do these kind of things, because Demon Hunter can't wait forever to play their cards. It will delay and prevent, say, other key outcast cards, but we all know I mean the Skull. So they have to use their cards inefficiently in order to be able to play the Skull if you play in this play pattern. Now let's take a look at some decks that are beating Demon Hunter and kind of just go over why, try and see what's going on there. So there's Resurrect Priest, which you may have noticed from the slides earlier. It includes a ton of the cards I've been showing that match up really well against the Demon Hunter curve. There's Galakron Warlock, which is got a lot of answers to the early development of Demon Hunter, and a lot of things to do in terms of side development. You can see those Invoke cards in there. The 4 mana 5/4 draw 3 cards if you're twice invoked. They just have so many things where they can kind of not commit to a board while developing elsewhere, so that they don't have to win on board directly. There's Big Druid, which does a really good job of ignoring what the Demon Hunter's doing, making it really awkward to play some of those cards and just scaling up into their own late game. There's Face Hunter, which makes Demon Hunter have to play it in a certain way to respect its own aggression, which then can make it so outcast cards get stuck and you can abuse that mechanic. And all sorts of stuff, even a little bit of stealthy rogue stuff at the bottom. So a closer look at some of these decks. We'll take a closer look at the Priest deck. This is just kind of one of your generic res priests. This was the most commonly played one that was doing well versus Demon Hunter. So we see that there is answers to 1 and 2 drops in the form of Holy Smite, which has been added from the previous expansion standard priest deck. There's no Holy Smite before. Now 2 Holy Smites, 2 penances. So this will help clean up those 1 drops, those 2 drops, and then there's answers to the Overseer in the form of Holy Nova and Breath. Holy Nova wasn't included before. It got buffed, but it also has way more targets now that the breakpoint in the metagame is a lot closer to 2 health than 3 health. So Breath and Holy Nova both able to shut down that Overseer and do work. And then tons of 6 health development options for turn 4 with Vargoth or Bone Wraith. And maybe even coining a 4 into a Psychopomp and stuff like that. Stuff that really just lines up well against the Demon Hunter suite of cards. And then we have a closer look here at a Warlock deck that's been doing well. You have answers to 1 and 2 drops in the form of the new card Fellbolt. Also Sacked Pact, seeing as the Demon Hunter has a lot of demons in their curve. And Nether Breath, so just really premier removal there for answers to that early game boards. And then you have an answer to the Overseer in the form of Dark Skies, and you can really just shut them down from there. And then the cherry on top, or the icing on the side, or I guess the icing's on top too. You have non-board asset development on turn 4 with the Invoke cards. You have Double Devoted Maniac and Fiendish Rites, which allow you to develop in a way that the Demon Hunter can't really interact with without falling too far behind on board because of the herd of 1/1s that you get along the way for free. It just lines up really well versus the first 4 turns of Demon Hunter, and that's why it's having so much success. So in summary, playing versus Demon Hunter, killing a 2/2 isn't that hard. Turn 1, piece of cake. You got this. Turn 2, killing a 3/2 is not that bad either. Easy. This class is a joke. Turn 3, that can be tough. Not a lot of classes can beat Overseer. You're going to want to try and make sure that you have an answer for their power spike on turn 3. And turn 4, now this is the key one, few cards or combination of cards live through their options. That's just the truth. Turn 4 is a big turn for Demon Hunter. That you're usually going to kill your guy and play a new guy, and you're going to feel sad. So one of the ways that you can take advantage of how the class works is you can develop elsewhere and get things. The Fellblade is one of the easiest things to get stuck in their hand, but you can get generally just things stuck in their hand that will delay the Skull of Gul'dan. So it's kind of weird to play against Demon Hunter, but at the same time, the Outcast mechanic is really cool and adds a lot of power to Demon Hunter, but at the same time, I believe the Outcast mechanic is the key to Demon Hunter's weakness, and you should keep it in mind and how you can use it to your advantage when you play against Demon Hunter. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you're gonna go out there and crush some Demon Hunters. See you guys. He don't got it. He's some weird Highlander control deck thing. No, you came 1 turn too soon! Come on, we talked about this. Oh, ruined.